Welcome to all our viewers for a special episode on Indigo's Flight 2142, which went from Delhi to Srinagar on May 21st, 2025. A quick disclaimer from my side. I am not an aviation expert, neither I am an aviation security expert, neither I am any pilot. I do have interest as a layman, as a technical person in aviation, in flying, as well as in airports. So that's where my limit ends. The today's episode, whatever information I'm giving you, has been taken from public sources. One more disclaimer is that this is not an official version of the incident. If you are quoting this video, please carry forward this disclaimer. As I said, I'm going to talk about flight 6E2142 from Delhi to Srinagar. The scheduled departure time of this flight was 4:55 p.m. and the scheduled arrival of this flight at Srinagar was 6:30 p.m. The photo on the right you can see, which today is all over the press. The radome of the flight has been badly damaged. The front nose of an aircraft houses the weather radar inside. So this cover over here is known as the radome. So what I'm going to show you today in this video is going to be very interesting. I suggest you have a look at the complete video. Firstly, I'll go through the weather pattern over North India on the evening of May 21st, 2025. Weather plays an extremely important role in our aviation industry. I will then further show you the flight path of 6E2142 all the way from Delhi to Srinagar. This will show the ground trace, the height and speed of the aircraft during the entire duration of the flight. Third, I'll show you the actual place where the aircraft hit turbulence and how going over the Pakistani airspace would have saved the day. They would have avoided this incident. And then the amazing landing of the brave pilots and an injured aircraft. There is quite a lot already written about this incident in the press, so I'm just going to once reiterate the official version which has come from the DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. On 21/5/25, Indigo's Airbus 321 Neo aircraft, registration number VTIMD, operated flight 6E2142 while cruising at FL360. This means at 36,000 feet, the aircraft entered hailstorm and severe turbulence near Pathankot. As per the crew statement, they requested Northern Control, which is under the Indian Air Force, for deviation towards left, that is the international border, due to weather on the route. However, it was not approved. Later, the crew contacted Lahore to enter their airspace to avoid weather, but the same was refused too. Crew initially attempted to return, but as they were close to the thunderstorm cloud, they decided to penetrate the weather. Subsequently, they encountered hailstorm and severe turbulence. And why do I say the aircraft was injured? Just look at this para which has been given by DGCA. The crew chose to continue at same heading to exit the weather by shortest route towards Srinagar, while in thunderstorm cloud, warnings of angle of attack fault, alternate law protection lost, backup speed scale unreliable were triggered due to updraft and downdraft encountered by the aircraft. The autopilot tripped and the aircraft's speed had wide variation. As a result, maximum operating speed and maximum operating Mach warnings and repeated stall warnings were triggered. During this period, the aircraft rate of descent reached 8,500 feet per minute. Crew flew the aircraft manually till they exited the hailstorm. So, if I tell you in simple terms, the two pilots were in the cockpit And all these warnings were coming at them simultaneously. There were too many things which kept on failing, and finally, they had to take control of this very modern aircraft to fly it manually. DGCA further says after carrying out all checklist actions, crew declared pan. I'll tell you what pan means to Srinagar ATC and requested for radar vectors and made a safe landing with auto thrust operating normally. At least something in the aircraft was operating normally. There was no injury to any passengers on board the flight. Post flight walk around revealed the damage to the nose radome. So that's about the incident, and now I'll take you through the detailed data. Before I start talking about the weather conditions, a few technical term clarifications. The normal rate of descent of an Airbus 321 when it starts its descent, when you are sitting in the aircraft and it's reaching its destination, at many times, you might have observed that the engines are at idle. Now, that's when the aircraft starts its descent towards its destination, and the normal rate is 1500 to 2000 feet per minute. Now, this Indigo flight during turbulence, it was descending at the speed of 8,500 feet per minute. That is 4 to 5 times more than the required rate. You can imagine the conditions of the passengers inside. They would be experiencing a roller coaster ride. The other is the term used pan by the pilot. Now, this is an international standard urgency signal used to declare that help is needed, but the situation is not immediately life threatening. It's a less urgent call than the one you may remember called Mayday, which indicates a distress situation. Pan is often used for situations like engine failure, low fuel, or other problems that require assistance but are not yet life threatening. Now, the good thing to note here is that since the pilot sent out a pan message, that means at no time they thought that there is a life threatening situation. The passengers have made certain videos and did experience extreme conditions, but the pilots at all time during the flight were fully in control. Now let's look at the weather pattern on 21st May 2025. Now this information, as you can see, I've taken from the satellite bulletin from Indian Meteorology Department. The time is 1200 UTC, which means around 5:30 in the evening. That's roughly the time when the aircraft experienced turbulence at over Punjab. That's around this point. This is the western disturbance at that time. You can see the extent. It's all over Himachal, extending over Jammu region and into Haryana. Now, the same area, if you can see here, this is the same satellite image, but taken at 1800 UTC, which means like 11:30 p.m. You can see how this weather system has moved, this weather disturbance. It has moved from J&K and Punjab and has come over Himachal and Haryana and over Delhi. I believe Delhi got a hailstorm or a dust storm that evening, which was due to this western disturbances. So, in about 6 hours, this fellow has moved from all the way from J&K and has come down to Haryana. One more thing to note about this western disturbance is that if you notice the color of this cloud pattern, it's absolutely white, much more whiter than the surrounding. Now, people who are trained to analyze satellite images, they will immediately say that this cloud is extremely high. That's why the pilots encountered this even when they were flying at 36,000 feet. Now, another point to note, I'll just zoom into this image. Uh, Pathankot or Gurdaspur is somewhere here where my cursor is. Now, once you enter that area and there is turbulence, the only way you can avoid this turbulence is to go left, that is towards the west, which is Pakistani airspace. Now, if you try to turn right, you're going to hit even higher clouds. There'll be much more thunderstorm and hail to the right. The pilots sort of got stuck at this point. They were not given permission to go left where there were no clouds. You can see that over Pakistan, there is no cloud formation. Lahore was operational, Sialkot was operational. So they could have actually flown over this area and gone along the international border and then re entered from around Lucknow. But that permission was denied. While on the ground, you can see how much damage that day was caused by the same system. These pictures I have got from Kurukshetra, May 21st, 2025 evening. I have some family members there who shared these pictures. The entire road was damaged, the trees were uprooted, and even cars got damaged. So the weather warnings by IMD were well in place that day. In its 12 UTC or 5:30 p.m. IST bulletin, they said that intense to very intense convective thunderstorm activity observed over Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, East Punjab, and Haryana, Northwest UP, and Nepal, Bihar, etc. Now I'll take you through the flight path of 6E2142. When you see this flight path, just keep in mind the images which I have shown. Keep in mind that the weather pattern was not too good that day, especially near Gurdaspur, Pathankot, and Jammu and Kashmir. I'll be showing you the flight path from the site Flight Radar 24. Now, the aircraft in question is VTIMD, and that day, it had already flown from Calcutta to Delhi in the morning from 6:25 to 8:55, then Delhi, Goa, Goa, Delhi, and then on the last leg, it was supposed to do Delhi, Srinagar, and then come back. The return flight from Srinagar never took place because of the damaged aircraft. So, this is the flight I'm going to show you, and I'm going to play it back. So I'll start this playback. At the bottom, you will be able to see the altitude, the ground speed, and the vertical speed as this flight goes from Delhi to Srinagar. Now, the path you can see very well. It goes right over Punjab and then comes close to Amritsar, from where it turns right. And remember, there's a big cloud formation all over here, so the flight actually can't turn back. So let me start this playback and I'll zoom in when necessary. So I pick up the aircraft when it's around about 20,000 feet. It has just crossed the Delhi approach control and is moving towards Batinda, Hisar, and then on to Punjab. You can see the progress over here, and I will keep zooming in into this image. Uh, Round about this place is when it reaches its cruising altitude of around 36,000 feet. Now I'll just make a stop here. Uh, this is 1205, and the satellite picture which I showed you is of 12 GMT. So that cloud formation, and this is the position of the aircraft at that time. So let's continue. The flight keeps progressing, nothing untoward. Now, till it reaches somewhere here when they find that there's a huge cloud formation and they may not be able to go take that path, and probably, this is, I'm just guessing, they might have contacted Lahore at this point of time, or the Indian Air Force, or whomsoever, and permission was denied to go to Lahore. Remember, there was no cloud formation over Lahore was operational, Sialkot was operational. So then the pilot said, now don't have any choice because there's a huge cloud formation over here. Even if they try to turn back, they will end up being hit by the storm. So they decide to go through the storm, and that's they take a right turn, and this is where Around this time, the turbulence is going to hit. You keep a watch on these figures down here. It's still at 36,000 feet, and let's see, zoom in, and still at 36,000 feet. And now we are reaching Gurdaspur, and that's the time actually that when they hit the turbulence. And now something starts happening. It's down to 35. Ground speed is going up, and this is exactly the place where it's hit. It's This is the place just before Pathankot, and all these parameters you'll see they will keep fluctuating badly. Vertical speed minus 500. The speed indicators are showing anything but everything. 33,000 feet. They try to climb up, and then there is a drastic descent after this. After Pathankot, they really come down. You see how fast 3,000 feet per minute they are falling down. And that's really crazy. It's very scary if you happen to be inside the aircraft. And then they try to balance out at 20,000 feet and go over the mountain ranges. Now, that's also very difficult. Most of these ranges are 15 to 16,000 feet. They flew over them, and then they reach Srinagar. Now, there's one last thing I'll just show you here before I wind up. If you see this loop over here, they make one loop over Pulwama and Shopian before they land. So even though they had given a pan message to Srinagar, they still, for some reason, made a loop. They did not do a direct descent and direct landing. One loop was made at 9,000 feet, and then they came into land. Now, we don't have any information why this was done. And finally, the aircraft comes into land, and this is Srinagar Airport, and it lands pretty safely. 227 people were on board that day. Not a scratch to anyone, not an injury. The plane was injured, it suffered nose damage and multiple other problems. Yet these two pilots saved the day for everyone. A big salute goes out to these Indigo pilots, and we hope safe flying for everyone in future. Thank you very much for watching this episode.